Good day. This is the channel Seeking My Creator. Um, Before I found out about the Inligas, I thought life was beautiful. And then I found out about the Inligas and realized that I was enslaved and everyone was enslaved, and I did not know what to do, and I did not know if I should be angry or sad. But I'm getting over it because I'm going to do something about the Inligas. Something constructive. Since the Illegus is a contract, I'll have to find a way to form some new kind of contract that that is proper for me. Now, my name is Andrew, but I prefer to go by Gundus. Now, if you don't, if you know, anyone can find out anything online. Let's see. So, here's what I wanted to share with all of you today. This is Public Law 909284, right? April 11th on the in the year 1968. Now, this law was passed after Martin Luther King's assassination. Wait, let me pull up Martin. Nah. Martin Luther King. So it's important to know the timeline. So Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of scholarship on this. I'm sorry if you don't like that. There are much better scholars than me. This is mostly for me. If anyone finds an error or an egregious error, you can come back and tell me. So Martin Luther King was killed in 1968. This is a scan of the Civil Rights Bill from 1968. Wait. Let's go back over here. So this is April 4th is when he died, and this was the bill that was passed on April 11th, 1968. See, after Martin Luther King died, people who were called coloreds and Negroes, because there were no people called black at that time. There were no people called African American at that time. So you come call them African American, I know you're wrong. After April 4th, and Martin Luther, after April 4th, the day Martin Luther King was killed, all of the Negroes and almost all of the coloreds, they rioted across America. What the government did is that they passed a civil rights bill to grant them the rights that they were requesting for so peacefully for so long. They just wasn't ready for a spontaneous action like that. So before I start reading the first few power pages of this book, because it's this one is 20 pages, but this one is tight, and this one is 36 pages, I would have to break this video up into several videos just to fully read the thing, or rather to make a video of me reading it. This is what the actual bill looks like. It's stored in the Library of Congress. It's HR 2516. So I guess that's House Resolution, not House Joint Resolution. It's House Resolution 2516. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same throughout. All right. Martin Luther King was shot to death in a hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. A single shot fired by James Earl over 200 feet away at a nearby motel struck Martin Luther King in the neck. Alright, he died an hour later, blah 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 blah. I don't care about Ray escaping from the Mississippi prison. Nope. No. Alright, so they didn't talk much about the. Oh, well, this will give you a timeline of what also happened on that day. Well, that's not important to me right now. What's important to me is finding out, hey, is that civil rights bill that was passed on April 11th tied to Martin Luther King because I'm gonna act like I don't know just for a little bit, so that someone doesn't come along and just lies to me and tell me I'm wrong. All right. Mm, okay. So a quick scan, a quick speed reading through this document shows me that it's not really talking about the Civil Rights Bill of 1968, although Martin Luther King died in 1968. I'm trying to look for an article that will talk about that's going to talk about that bill. No, I don't want to hear from James Earl Ray. Uh, why people merited after Martin Luther King's assassination. I don't want to hear about James, about Mr. Ray's pleading guilty. Seems like all I'm getting, I guess I have to change my search term and modify it. And okay, thank you, Wikipedia. Uh, I don't like using Wikipedia so much, but it's an easy resource to use. And guess what? Most of its sources are at the bottom of the page. Bottom of the page. You see, you don't look at the stuff in the Wikipedia article. You go down to the bottom of the page where they have where they should have sources and links and all these external links and stuff. That's the juicy stuff. That's the stuff you use. This is just a summary. All this is just a summary. Okay, the Civil Rights Act of 1968, 1968, Public Law 90-284, was enacted on was enacted April 11th, 1968, also known as the Fair Housing Act, is a landmark legislation in the United States that provided for equal housing opportunities regardless of race, religion, national origin, and made it a federal crime by force or by threat of force, injury, intimidation, or interference with anyone by any reason of their race, color, religion, or national origin. So if someone says they're not going to do something for you based on your race, your color, your religion, or what country you came from, with regards to providing you housing if you have money and you apply, that is illegal on the federal level. All right. The act was signed into law during the King assassination riots. Oh wait. So wait. There's this. King assassin King assassination riots. The King assassination riots, also known as the Holy Week uprising. I did not know it was called the Holy Week uprising. I'm gonna read that later on my own. If you want to see me read it, I'm sorry, but I'm not. I'm just gonna do that on my own for now. Was a wave of civil disturbance which swept the United States. Sorry, I try not to add words. Following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. on April 4th, 1968. It was the greatest wave of social unrest the United States had experienced since the Civil War. So, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And it says, people rioted. This little excerpt here does not show which group of people rioted. Alright, so let's go back to the previous sentence. The act was signed into law during the King assassination riots by President Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act into law. Now, most people confuse the Civil Rights, no, sorry, I tend to confuse the Civil Rights Act with the Voting Rights Act. They're two different laws, or rather, they're two different acts. Because if it was law, they would just say it's law. Okay, um, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act is commonly known as the Fair Housing Act and was meant as a follow-up to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So there's a Civil Rights Act of 1964, while the Civil Rights Act of 1866 prohibited discrimination in housing. There was no federal provisions. So that means that there's a Civil Rights Act of 1866 and then there's the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Civil Rights Act of 1968. So I guess they were invoking states' rights, which is what they do which is what the states do all the time when they don't want to follow the laws. Although when the states become a part of the United States, that means that they now have to give up some of their laws to follow the federal laws. The 1968 Act expanded on previous act and prohibited discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing based on race, religion, national origin since 1974, gender since 1988, and the acts protect people with disabilities and families with children. So in 1974, they protect gender. So that means that women get equal opportunities as a result. Then in 1988, is further expanded to protect people with disabilities. So, so the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was signed into law for black people, or rather for colored people and Negroes. Now I'm gonna go over here. So if you want to see what it originally looks like, you can go to https://catalog archives gov/id 12199297, and you can see page for page what the original Civil Rights Act looked like, or you can call the legislative offices of the government and you can get a certified copy. Alright, so here's it typed out and here's what it looks like. Here is what it looks like when they scanned it in. To prescribe penalties for certain acts of violence or intimidation for other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Title 1, Interference with Federally Protected Activities. So that means that these are things that the government has to give you because they protect them. Then there is title, yep, and there is so there's chapter 1. Wait, let me see if I can properly break down the different sections of this. So there's title 1, Federally Protected Activities. Then there's chapter 2 talking about the riots. And these are referring to the rights of black people in that time, or rather Negroes and colored people, fighting right after Martin Luther King was killed. And then now Title II, the rights of Indians. Now, I know you're gonna say like, look, I can't read this, I can't see it, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna go to this version. I'm going to go to the nicely typed up computerized version, which is no excuse for why you can't see it, which is a lot easier for me to read. Now, Civil Rights Act of 1968, Public Law 92-284, 82 Statute 73, as amended through Public Law 113-4. So there's a Public Law 113-4 enacted March 7th, 2013. So I don't know what public law that is, but I wonder why it's there. Is it over here? Is it over here? The top of this one. What is? I don't want to get sidetracked. I don't see it over here in this one. Alright, so an act to prescribe penalties for certain acts of violence or intimidation and for other purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that this act may be cited as the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Title I, Interference with Federally Protected Activities. I want you to remember, while I am reading through the first 2 to 5 pages, this whole law is dealing with black people, dealing with Negroes, dealing with coloreds. Today you call them black people and African Americans. Over here in the Wikipedia article, it shows you in the second paragraph how the law was extended after the 1960s. It was expanded to include women specifically. Then it was expanded to include people with disabilities in the 80s. So in the 70s, it was expanded to include women, and it was expanded to include people with disabilities. So for right now, everything in this law deals with black people. Now here's the gem. I'm going to go through each of the titles first and then start reading through some of them. So title 1 is Interference with Federally Protected Activities. Now this is after Martin Luther King is dead. They wrote, I don't know if they fully wrote the bill or changed the bill after a few days after he died, but this was published in about 6 to 7 days after the death of Martin Luther King. So they either had this bill on hand, or maybe they made some changes to it in the 6 to 7 days after Martin Luther King was murdered, was assassinated. All right. So Title 1, interference with federally protected activities. That means the federal government has to step in and protect these when someone violates them. That means that you don't call the police. Those are local level. Those are the best state. You'd have to probably call something like the National Guard or the Army or maybe a sheriff. I'm not too sure. Then you have Title 2, Rights of Indians. I think the reason why this one is so much shorter than the other copy is because of the width, because of the typing, the font, and the scanning. All right. So Title 2 is the rights of Indians. It's not the rights of Negroes. It's not the rights of Negroes. Does it say Negroes there? Can you hear me saying Negroes? No, it says Indians. Doesn't say the rights of coloreds. There's no coloreds in this bill. This is a civil rights bill that black people claim all the time. This was a bill that when you look back in history and you see the pictures of the people writing, and the people are today what we call black, but they write in the bill that they're Indians, that means they're Indians. The government's not stupid. All right. So Title 2, is the rights of Indians. Let's see what Title 3 is. Because I'm gonna read this whole thing. Even has something about hate. Wait, let me go back up here. This is within the rights of Indians, and it has something about the habeas corpus. Oh, and this is with regards to an Indian tribe. So you can't claim this habeas corpus unless you can't use this form of habeas you can't use this form of habeas corpus unless you're an Indian. And if you go and try and vote and you vocally or you put down on paper that you're not Indian or that you're something else, they'll use it as an excuse to invalidate it. Let's find out where Title 3 is. I don't know how many titles this thing has. Boy, Title 2 is really long. Yeah, it's almost about five or four pages. Alright, Title 3. Mode. Oh wait, Title 3. Let me put this higher up in the page. Title 3. Probably read it before I did. Title 3. Model Code governing courts of Indian offenses. Title 4. Jurisdiction over criminal and civil actions. Assumption by state of criminal jurisdiction. So this is about what courts you can be tried in. Oh, that's Title 4. It's not very long. All right, or maybe it is. All right. I have not come across the term Negro yet. Title 5. Offenses within Indian country. Okay, so it's saying it's an amendment. I don't understand what these words mean. Section 501 amends Section 11 Section 1153 of Title 18 of the United States Code. Title 6. Employment of legal counsel. Title 7. Materials relating to constitutional rights of Indians. I'm getting to the point here that if I get a comment and it's telling me that this is about black people and the whole law at this point in time is about Indians, but the people are writing today we call black. The people who were at that time writing were called Negroes and Coloreds, but the bill is about Indians and it was passed for them. They go into court later on and they sue housing corporations and they sue landlords using this law. I'm sure that they read the law and their lawyers read the law, and when they went into court and they sued for their housing rights, and they won, and they sued for their rights to work and whatever. This is the law they used. So all those people were Indians. No, all those people were Indians. This is a law pertaining to Indians, and this was passed because of Martin Luther King's assassination. So that means that Martin Luther King was an Indian. It means that all those black people writing at that time were Indians, and they gave up their Indian rights to call themselves black, colored, Negro, African American. Title V, fair. Title V, Fair Housing. Short title. This title may be cited as the Fair Housing Act. Alright, so I'm going to read that on my own later. Then I'll make a video about it. I'm probably going to have to do one for each separate act. No, one for each separate title within this act. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do So there's a specific section within, I think I'm at Title 6 or Title 7, in discrimination in residential real estate related transactions. All right, so I'm gonna have to probably do a video on each separate. Wait, I forget to put the FU. Yes, I am invoking fair use. This whole video is under fair use. I'm trying to teach, I'm trying to educate, I'm trying to share my study time with other people. I don't claim to be the genius, I don't claim to be the best researcher, but I'm gonna F you guys with fair use. I'm gonna fair use you guys. F you, fair use. That's gonna be the that will be the new definition of F you, fair use. F you, fair use, fair use. All day. All right. And mm, oh, and there's education and conciliation. Going further down, 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 down. Because I'm gonna go right back to Title 1 and read Title 1. I know this is probably annoying you. It's probably annoying me. Oh well, it's reading. One of my favorite hobbies. Wait, wait, wait. Okay, I probably passed Title 8. You probably heard me said so in the video and realized I made a mistake. So now this is Title 9, Prevention of Intimidation in Fair Housing. That means that someone can't threaten to call the cops on you. No, that doesn't just mean that, but it means that one of the examples is that they can't go around calling the cops on you if you come there to do contracting or business with them. Almost all of this revolves around contracts and business, and people seem to gloss that over. Title 10, Civil Disobedience. Oh, wait, wait. So, I'm probably going to break my rule a little since Title 10 is so short. I mean, you've probably already read it completely right now. Title X or Title 10, because X is the Roman numeral for 10. And they didn't get their number system until they got it from India. Oh, they didn't? No, yeah. Yeah, they got it from India and Arabia. That's where they got their number system, or rather, the symbols that we use today as numbers. So, Title X, Civil Obedience. Oh no, you see, I misplaced words and I put wrong words into the wrong spaces. I thought it said civil disobedience. No, it says Title 10, Civil Obedience, short title. Section 1001. This title may be cited as the Civil Obedience Act of 1968. So I want to look that up. Maybe there's something on it. Oh, all right. So it looks like there's a lot of stuff on the topic of civil obedience. Criminal penalties for acts committed in civil disorders. You know what? I have not really looked at the word civil. Search for civil online. Civil.
Civil.
Ooh.
Civil.
Oh.
Civil.
A beautiful woman voice saying the word civil. I mean, couldn't you just get a monotone teacher? All right. Relating to ordinary citizens and their concerns, as distinct from military or ecclesiastical matters. Also means courteous or polite. So it's relating to private relations between members of a community and non-criminals. So this is a legal definition. Civil action. Now, I have a Black's Law 1 dictionary. I have a Black's Law 10 dictionary. Let me see if I can find it. Civil. Actually, I just got a whole bunch of books I wanted to buy for a really long time, and I quite don't have all the time in the world to actually read them, which is a crying shame because I'm putting aside time so I can read these books on my own. Alright, civil fruit. Okay, went a little too far ahead. Let's see. Civil. Okay, so in the Black's Law 10 dictionary, of or relating to or involving the state of citizens of or relating to or involving the state or its citizenry. Um, there's some brackets here and that says civil rights and then full stop. 2. Relating to or involving private rights and remedies that are sought by action of suit as distinct from criminal proceedings and from criminal proceedings. Open brackets, civil litigation, close brackets, full stop. 3. Of or relating to or involving any of the modern legal systems derived from Roman law. You suckers are all under Roman civics. That's not in the sentence. That's just me interjecting. Open brackets, Louisiana is a civil law jurisdiction. Oh, so in the Black's Law 10, it tells you that Louisiana uses civil laws. And that means it's under Roman civics. Alright, let me see if I can get my old Black's Law 1 dictionary out. Actually, it's quite new, but it's an old dictionary. You know. So, I know this is taking longer than it should, but I think I'm gonna have to make a video about each and every one of these titles in the 1968 law regarding civil rights. So this is my Black's Law 10 dictionary. Just started reading it. This is my right. Okay, I want it there. I want my face there. Alright, good. This is my Black's Law dictionary. It is the first edition. So let's see what it says on the word civil. Civil. Tell me what the word civil means. Because reading this bill, I'd have to look through every legal legal definition in a dictionary. Oh wait, I'm in the B section. I went too far. Capital. No. O-C-O-C-L. Oh, there it is. Civil law. Oh, nope, that's too far. That's too far. Okay, civil. In the Black's Law Dictionary, first edition, in its original sense, this word means pertaining or appropriate to a member of civitas or free political community. So civitas is spelled C-I-V-I-T-A-S. I believe that is a Latin word. Or free political community, natural or proper to a citizen. So to use civil law, you have to belong to a free you have to belong to a free political community, and it has to be natural to a citizen of that community. Also relating to community, to the policy and government of the citizens and subjects of the state. Now, many people will tell you that a subject means that you're under the control of the state, which is true. That's what the word subject means. Also, subjects are slaves. So, a citizen is a subject, and a subject is a slave. So, get over it. That's what it is. Don't try again. Don't try to dance around the semantics of the word. In the language of the law, it has various significations. In in contradict in contradiction to barbarous and savage. So it's about fair treatment in between peoples, in reverse to being barbarous and savage, which is just being unfair and violent. It indicates a state of society reduced to order and regular government. Thus, we speak of civil society and we speak of. I'm messing up again. I'm stuttering. In contradiction to barbarous or savage, it indicates a state of society reduced to order and regular government. Thus, we speak of civil life, civil society, civil society, civil government, and civil liberty. If you don't know what liberty means in its most essential form, it means you have the permission to do something, which is very different from the right to do something. I give you the permission to enter my home, which means if I don't want you in my home, I'll kick you out. If you have the right to be in my home, if I don't want you in my home, I can't kick you out. Very different. Do not confuse rights with liberties. In contradiction to criminal, it indicates the private rights and remedies of men as members of the community. Wait. Private? Doesn't Yusuf L always talk about the big difference between public versus private? Wow. In contradiction to criminal. So this is different from criminal law. Criminal law is one thing and civil law is another thing. In contradiction to criminal law, it indicates the private rights and remedies of men as members of the community. In contrast to those which are public and related to government. So the public is related to the government and the private is related to regular men. And these are the rules for that exist between regular men that the government says it will protect in the event it's violated. Thus, we speak of civil process and criminal process, civil jurisdiction and criminal jurisdiction. It is also used in contrast to military or ecclesiastical, to natural or foreign. So I don't think that natural just means like being natural in that sense. I think natural has to do with the relation of being from the country or being a foreigner to the country. Thus, we speak of a civil station as opposed to a military or ecclesiastical station, a civil death as opposed to a natural death. So now there's a distinction between natural and civil. A civil war as opposed to a foreign war. So I guess civil must mean legal. I guess natural must mean the actual death of the body. Now, in a recent video done by both Lex Will and then another video done by Darkman X, they both go into a work of video. I believe it's done by Tammy Pepperman. I believe that's one of her videos or one of her audios online. It's hard to track down the original one, but that's not the point. The point is the information she distinctly indicates is that they make a distinct line in between the living person and the person in the law, between the head and the body. and they take your legal self and they separate it from the physical body. I also was looking up in a video recently, and it said that the laws regarding DNA have been structured so that you can't own your DNA, you can't own your body and be your body at the same time. So in the law, there's a distinction between your physical body and you in the law. Now it says here there is a distinction between your body and the law, or the law of death. You're deaf in the law and you're deaf in the body. So I'm going to show you on my Black's Law first edition what it says. Now there are other editions of Black's Law, and these contracts or these laws are only, their meanings is relative to the moment at which they were written. So it means you can only use the definitions from the time period of which they're written, because that's what it's based on. You can't use new definitions for something that happened a long time ago. You're just gonna have an erroneous statement. So let me show you. Civil. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, come on. Alright, there. Right with my fingers begin. And okay, that's straight. This way, this way. Up. Good. This way, good. You can read that there. You can read that there. I'm really sorry if this is hard to see. Can't get any closer than that. So I don't want it to be said that I didn't try to show you. It was in my dictionary. Alright, so let's check out one more site. Because remember, right here it says distinction relating to members of the community, relating to private relations between members of a community. So this deals with private law. You have to be on the private side of the law in order to use you have to be on the private side of the law to use Public Law 90-208. Public Law 90-284. Wow, wow. See what looking up a single definition of a single word shows us. So let's look at one more definition of the word civil. Or rather, let us look up the history of the creation of the word civil. Now, I don't like Etymon Online because they actually change their index on a regular basis, and they shouldn't be doing that. They change it to hide stuff. I'm sorry. Has to be said. No, I don't want civil. So this is civil, the adjective. I know I'm going in really deep on just the word civil, but now you understand that you have to go this deep on each and every single word in a legal act. Relating to the civil, late 14th century, relating to civil life, to civil law or life, pertaining to internal affairs of the state, from Old French civil, relating to civil law, 13th century. So this word civil is in French and is word written in the French language as civil. No, it's Old French and it's written as the word civil from the 13th century. So this definition that we're reading now has come about in the 14th century, is based on the definition from the 13th century, and it goes from relating to civil law to pertaining to internal affairs of a country. because that is what a state is. A state is a country. So Hawaii would be a state, Peru would be a state, Venezuela would be a state, Egypt would be a state. Do not be fooled when people say states and countries are the same thing. So relating to the law, relating to civil law or legal law or life. Alright. So civil must mean private. It must mean a combination of the word private law or life pertaining to the internal affairs of a country. So this is dealing with how people within a country deal with one another. These are the rules between people within a country. In Old French, it was just relating to private law. Civil is meaning I'm beginning to see that it's talking about private laws. I've said it twice over in this previous definition. See there, private relations. Oh wait, you're gonna say, wait, did I change it back? I'm sorry, I forgot to change the screen size back. I'm so sorry. Alright, civil means private. So you see here, under the legal definition of the word, it deals with private law, the rules between private individuals of a community. It doesn't deal with criminal actions such as murder or theft. So this is Edimon Online. This is dealing with the word civil. It is listed as an adjective, as a modifier to a word. This word deals with the word private. It's private, means private law. Alright, it just means private. And when combined with the word law, it means in reference to private law. So it means relating to the late 14th century, relating to civil law or life, pertaining to internal affairs of the state. To break that down for you, it's relating to the private law or the law of life, law between living beings. It pertains to the internal rules, or rather to the rules within a country between people of that country. It is from Old French civil, so it maintains the same spelling. That means that this is a French word. Civil, relating to civil law, again, private law. And the definition comes from the 13th century. See, up until now we've been stuck on just this one line. It's one line from the definition of civil, and is directly from Latin civilis, relating to a society pertaining to public life. So that is interesting. So at some point in time, the word civil was about public life, life in the public. Then it becomes about life in the private. So it switches from a rule about people on the private side to now people in the private side. I gotta think about that for a moment. You're gonna tell me that the word civil has only to do with people in the private side. I mean, that's so interesting. You gotta think about that for a while. But before that, in Latin, it's about the public side. Search Google for the word Latin civilis. So this is of and pertaining to public or political life. Political, figuratively, courteous, polite, civil, affordable, urbane. Let me copy that piece. Let me copy the whole thing. I can delete the parts that I don't want. Alright, let's go to Latin Dictionary. Dictionary.net. I just don't want to trust. I just don't want to trust random stuff. Let's look for a second and third confirmation. So this is the Latin Dictionary. Civilis, here it is near the top. Once you put it in, it auto finds it. Thank you, AI. You're being strangely helpful today. Maybe you want me to know something important. Maybe you don't want to kill me. Maybe you're just following the evil programming that you've been given, but you'll still follow it anyway. All right, so let's go back over here. Back one step. So the word civilis is of or pertaining to political life, public life, the public or politics, meaning the government. All right, so let's go into civilis. Let's see what it's about. Definition: civil, legal, of affecting fellow citizens, political, public, unassuming. So it needs to be polite. But it also means it's dealing with fair use of political, fair use of public law. So back in the day when it was in Latin, it's about civil there. Now, Eusifel also denotes that there was a switch. They made public law and then they made civil law and then they switched them around. Of affecting fellow citizens, legal, public, political, unassuming. So these guys are using basically the same lexicon, the same dictionary. So I'm not going to get anything more on civilis. Civilis just means public. So the word civil in the 14th century means private law. In the 13th century, it means private law. In the Latin language, and you can look up how old the Latin language is and when it started, the word civil comes from the words, actually, I think I said that wrong a few minutes ago, calling the word civil, civilis, in the 14th or 13th century. I now amend that. The word civil in the 14th century means private law. In the 13th century, it is a French word meaning private law. Then it is taken directly from Latin, and it's taken from the Latin word civilis, relating to a society, pertaining to public life, relating to civic order, benefiting of a citizen, hence, by extension, popular, affable, courteous. So they're talking about a fair exchange, a fair treatment. Alternative adjective of civil, alternative adjective, adjectival derivative of civility, of civilis, of civis, townsman. So instead of saying that you're being civil, you can call yourself a townsman. Wow, see city. So this is really quite a complex and robust definition of the Latin definition of the word civilis. Over here you get just five meanings that doesn't give you much. Very vague. Over here it tells you relating to a society, pertaining to public life. Whereas later in the future it's talking about private life, relating to order, benefiting of a citizen. Is the member a citizen is supposed to be a member of a country or nation? In most European laws, a citizen is a subject because they have monarchies and their subjects are actually their slaves because the monarchy owns everything and controls everything. That is not so in all nations. It's not so in all countries, but that is so in most of the European nations. Most of their laws dealing with citizens means that the citizen is a slave. That is why they have classes called nobles. You have nobles and citizens, meaning not barbarous, civilized from the 1500s. So we started off at the 14th century. We went back to the 13th century. We went way back to Latin, and then we jumped forward to the 1500s, or rather 1550s, and it's talking about not barbarous, not unfair. Do you need me to pull up the definition of barbarous? Because we're only on Title 10 of the Civil Rights of the 1968 Civil Rights Act. specifically relating to the Commonwealth as specifically relating to Commonwealth as spectacularly organized, as opposed to military or ecclesiastical by the 1610s. So this is establishing a timeline where they separate military or ecclesiastical, because that could probably mean that the laws of the military and the ecclesiastical are very different from the way how private citizens govern themselves, meaning relating to the citizen in his relation to the Commonwealth or his fellow citizens, also from the 1610s. The word civil has about 12 different meanings. Thank you, Europeans in English. You gave 12 different meanings. That means you have 12 opposing meanings for the same word. That is often why when you say a word has 12 different meanings, it means usually means it has 12 opposite meanings. You're not gonna give a word. You're not gonna give a word six meanings that all mean the same thing, because then you just say it just has one meaning. The word civil has about 12 different meanings. It is applied to all manner of objects which are perfectly desperate, as opposed to criminal. I know I missed a whole lot with perfectly desperate. Why is it perfectly desperate? As opposed to civil or criminal. It means all laws not criminal. As opposed to ecclesiastical, which means all law not ecclesiastical. As opposed to military, all law not military. And so on. John Austin lectures on jurisprudence. Oh, wait. So we can look up John Austin Lectures of Jurisprudence, 1873. So this is the philosophy of positive law. Lectures on Jurisprudence are the philosophy of positive law. Many things are interrelated. How closely interrelated they are, that is big difference. The sense of polite. And I know that I'm going to be wrong in saying this, but it's really talking about being fair. The sense of polite was in classical Latin, but English did not pick up this nuance of word until the late 16th century, and it has tended to descend in meaning to meet the minimum standard of courtesy. So it's the minimum standard of courtesy. It means that you don't go over your way to bend forward every time you greet someone. Oh, how are you? No, you say, how are you? That's the minimum. So the courteous is thus more commonly said of superiors, civil of inferiors, since it applies or suggests the possibility of incivility or rudeness. Oh, so civil law is private law, but it used to be public law. Civil law is the lowest level of fairness, because this is what it's all about. Law is about treating people fairly, even when they're used for evil things and evil actions. Civil case, as opposed to criminal, recorded from the 1610s. Civil liberty. Natural liberty restrained by law only so far as necessary for the public good is by the 1640s. Seems like there's something really important there. Oh, I think OED means Oxford English Dictionary. I don't know why I said that just now, but it seems like it was important to me a few seconds ago. Didn't say anything about it. Okay, so let me go over this page again. In the fort, so it's saying that the word civil begins with the word civilis in Latin, and it relates to public law. Then in the 1300s, it relates to fair law and private law. It might still be public law in the 1300s in France, but I'm assuming that it relates to private law in the 1300s. Then in the 1600s, it definitely relates to private law. Then in the 1500s, it specifically means it's private law and it's fair law. It's a fair law, a fair system of laws. Then that's the 1550s, sorry. In the 1550s, it's about fair laws. In the 1600s, the 1610s at the earliest, it's making the distinction between military law and ecclesiastical law because most people don't understand the power of the church. The church passed their own laws. The church was their own country. So it's separating itself from ecclesiastical law and from military. And it's also not criminal. So let's go back up to where we're reading from, section 10. You see all of that from the word civil. Wow, criminal penalties and acts. Criminal penalties for acts committed in civil disorders. Section 1002 A amends Title 18 of the United States Code by inserting a new chapter 12, Civil Disorders. B amends the table of contents to Part 1 of Crimes of Title 18 of the United States Code. Alright, let's see if we can find this. So, this is all talking about Title 18 of the United States Code. Alright, Title 18, United States Code, and we're going for Section 101. Right? That's what we want. That's what I want. How to avoid going to jail under Section 101 for lying. Well, that's not the website that I want, really. Alright, that's the website I want. I want a law site. You're wondering, I went to this site. So I went to this site, lawcornell.edu. There are better law sites, but that's the first one I'm going to. And there's section 102. Let's go back over here. By inserting new chapter 12. A new chapter 12, civil disorders. So we're gonna go to section 102 and we're gonna look for new chapter 12. Then we're gonna go to section 101 of the Title 18. You know what? Because I put up the link for it, but I'm still gonna search for it the old-fashioned way. All right, let's see if my brain is going to be able to figure this out. Civil Obedience Act. Let's look for it. Nope, I'm not finding it on this page. I think I did this wrong. Title 18. I'm not figuring this out. I don't quite understand the structure of the law. Alright, so in Law Cornell, they have the Civil Obedience Act of 1968, as denoted in Title 10 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. So what does it say? Um, it's kind of hot in here right now. I'm trying to deal with the heat. Alright. Alright. So all this seems to be mostly fillers and background information. Maybe it will be helpful. All right. Civil Obedience Act of 1968, public law. Okay. So it knows that it comes from that public law. It also listed in that statute. It's also listed in this statute. It's also listed over here. This act refers only to a portion of the public law. The table below are for the entire public law classification. So Title 18.1. Title 18, U.S. Code, Chapter 1 repealed. So this was a law that was repealed. So I'm not figuring this out. Wait, I think I'm beginning to figure this out. This is talking about the Civil Obedience Act, and it's stating criminal penalties for civil disorders. So we gotta look in the section that says civil disorders. I found it by chance, not totally by chance, but went over here to all the went over here, the law Cornell. I looked at the Civil Obedience Act of 1968. Went down here. I clicked on, I think it was this one and this one, and then another one of these. I pulled up U.S. Code Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 12, 231. So this is dealing with Chapter 12. All right. Whoever teaches or demonstrates to any other person the use, application, or making of a firearm or explosive or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons, knowing or having reasons or intending that the same will be unlawfully employed for use in or in furtherance of a civil disorder which in any way or degree obstruct, delay, or advertise, affect, or or adversely, sorry, not advertise, or adversely affect commerce in the movement of any article or commodity in commerce, or conduct or performance of any federally protected function. Remember, this is really long and it loops into a whole lot of stuff, but remember, Civil Rights Act, federally protected activities, federally, and this is a federally protected function. This whole lot, chapter chapter 12 of the Title 18 of the United States Code, which is civil disorders. I'm saying it wrong, and I really don't care that much, but you can see it on the screen. And it says, if you teach someone how to make weapons or to kill, and it affects, and if it's used for crime, and you know it's being used for a crime, or it's being used to stop people from doing business, or stop people from doing something related to government, such as communicating with government or interacting with government, that's legal. Whoever manufactures or whoever transports or manufactures for transportation in commerce any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device, knowing or having reason to intend that the same will be used unlawfully in furtherance of a civil disorder, or whoever commits or attempts to commit any act to obstruct, impede, or interfere with any fireman or a law enforcement officer. This reminds me of? It reminds me of that time they dropped bombs from planes on this town where Negroes lived, who are actually Indians in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hmm. And, and didn't they stop the firefighters and didn't they stop the firefighters and police from putting out the fires and stopping them from burning the homes of those Indians in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who were called Negroes and Coloreds? Hmm. You know, it just making me think about that. Oh, just give me one to continue thinking about it. So this is talking about things done to stop commerce or business, or to stop people from effectively communicating with government or acting in a legal manner. Oh wow. So that means that under this law, things like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, Rosewood, those massacres and riots that literally threw American Indians out of their homes is now illegal. I wonder if we could go back into people. I wonder if people can who are descendants of the people who lived in that area can go back now and sue them. All right. Whoever commits or attempts to commit any act to obstruct, impede, or interfere with any fireman, law enforcement officer, or lawfully engaged in the lawful performance of his official duties, incident to and during the commission of a civil disorder in which in any way or degree obstructs or delays or adversely affects the commerce and movement of any article or commodity in commerce, or the conduct of performance of any federally protected function, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for not more than 5 years or both. So that's automatically 5 years, and you can be fined. Nothing contained in this section shall make unlawful any act of any law enforcement officer which is performed in the lawful performance of his duties. That doesn't mean, if a law enforcement officer does something illegal or unlawful that he's protected. It means that as long as the law enforcement officer does what he is supposed to do under a during a civil disorder, they are legally protected. So this law can cut both ways. If black people decide to riot, this law can be used against them. Or rather, if black people make firearms and explosives, or they make a large sort of weapon to stop other people from engaging in commerce or exercising rights, it can be used against them. And it can be also used against white people who drive cars into crowds of people at a civil demonstration. It can also be used against white people who go around making bombs. You know, or rather, these Europeans who call themselves white people, but they're just colonizers. So, wow. All right, so let's go back over here. Now, I don't know what exactly this means. It just probably just means that this is how it's referred to in the United States Code, the Civil Obedience Act of 1968, and this is talking about where elsewhere in the United States Civil Code where it amends Title 18. So let's go back over here. Oh wow, there's so many different pieces to this. I don't know how to visually make sense of it, but down here is chapter 12, and then down here is civil rights. And then down here is claims and services in matters affecting government. I don't know why that point is highlighted in my brain right now, but it seems important. So this title 13, so this chapter 13 and chapter 15 in part 1 of title 18 of the USC. So this tells you in the USC what the name of the 1968 Civil Rights Act is called. This tells you where it makes changes to United States Code in Title 18. And this tells you part of where the changes occur. Or this tells you specifically to what the changes are occurring in. So let's go back all the way up to Title 1. And I want you to remember that everything on downwards from from Title 2, everything after Title 1, Title 2 on downwards is all about the rights of Indians. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. All right, Title 1, because you're all Indians. All of you, um, all of you people out there who think who can trace your family to somewhere in the United States or South America or maybe in the Caribbean, and you realize that, hey, you, you're that you was called Negroes and that you're all really the same, that you're all really different kinds of Indians. All right, Title 1, Interference with Federally Protected Activities. Section 101A amends Chapter 13, Civil Rights or Private Rights. Uh, Title 18, United States Code by inserting at the end, therefore, of a new section 245 relating to federally protected civil rights activities. So these are your private rights, and these are the activities that are protected by the government. Oh wow, it's almost 6 o'clock. I gotta hurry this up. Nothing contained in this section shall, this is kind of fun. Nothing contained, nothing contained in this section shall apply to or affect activities under Title 9 of this Act. No, that's Title 8. Let's go over to Title 8. What is Title 8? Because, if you was reading this for the very first time, you didn't know Title 8, you would think, you know, you wouldn't know what Title 8 is. You wouldn't know it's about Indians. You think it'd be about Negroes and colored people, but it's about Indians. Alright, let's just, I'll put bookmarks in this thing so I can just go. It's Title 10, Title 9. Oh, that would save me a whole lot of time. I should just open a new tab with each section, with each title section in it. That would have been, it would save so much time instead of jumping back and forth like this. Come on, Title 8, where are you? I can't give up. Where are you, Title 8? Oh, Title 8 is the fair housing. So I'll duplicate this. I want to duplicate this tab. Okay, so over here in Title 1. So nothing contained in this section shall apply to or affect activities under Title 8 of this Act. So nothing in Title 1 affects Title 8. This is the fair housing. This is to protect your federally protected activity to housing. It's federally protected. The provision the provisions of this section shall not apply to acts or to omissions on part of law enforcement officers. So the provisions of this section shall not apply to acts or omissions on the part of law enforcement officers, members of the National Guard as defined in Section 101 of Title 10 of the United States Code, members of organized militia of any state or the District of Columbia not covered by whoa, that's a lot of information, but not covered by Section 1019, or members of the armed forces of the United States who are engaged in suppressing a riot or civil disturbance or restoring law and order during a riot or civil disturbance. So there seems to be a distinct there seems to be a distinct difference. I'm assuming this is my assumption because I got lost through halfway through this. So there seems to be some protections for members of the armed forces of the United States. I guess that can mean that's very vague. Could just mean the military or anyone who works for the United States that has weapons. And this is about when armed forces are used to stop a riot or civil disturbance. All right. The provisions of this section shall not apply to acts or omissions on part of law enforcement officers or members of the National Guard as defined in. So this does not apply. It does not affect the actions of law enforcement officers or the National Guard as defined in Section 101(9) of Title 10 of the United States Code. Members of the organized militia of any state or District of Columbia not covered. So this also deals with militias. So where are the militias of the United States? I really haven't heard of militias in this current day of any state, in any state, or the District of Columbia. Not covered because the District of Columbia is actually its own state, separate from Washington. I know people don't believe that, but that's what's saying right here. and it says it in many other numerous places. And I don't feel like looking that up right now. Not covered by Section 1019 or members of the armed forces of the United States. Okay, so it's saying that that provisions within that the protections of this act shall not apply to any of the military or armed forces used by the United States in any way who are trying to stop a riot or civil disturbance. So I don't know if a protest is considered, if a protest is not a civil disturbance, then they're not supposed to stop it. But if you're having a riot because the government killed your leader, they've now made a law to that does not stop them from stopping you from having the riot. Is that what I just read? No. This doesn't this law does not stop. It means that if you were having a riot, this law does not mean you can have a riot. This law does not protect your ability to go out there and riot. That's I think that's what it's saying. It's saying that this law does not stop the United States from quelling a riot or restoring civil order. Section 102 amends analysis of the analysis, the way people understand chapter 13 of Title 18 of the United States Code by adding at the end, therefore, an item for the catch line of this section 2 or 245 by subsection A. So it's amending how people analyze the chapter 13 of what is chapter 13 of Title 18 of the United States Code. So this is Title 18 of the United States Code Part 1 Crimes, and this is chapter 13 Civil Rights. So this is changing the way we understand civil rights. Section 103 amends Section 241 of 241 of Title 18 of the United States Code. B amends Section 242 of Title 18 of the United States Code. Section 12 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Section, this is a little vague and very confusing because it should tell you how it amends. It's just telling you that there's a change. It amends means that they made a change to it. What was the change? Section 104 amends Title 18 of the United States Code by inserting immediately after Chapter 101 a new Chapter 102. So in Title 18, after 101, there's a new Chapter 202, which is in reference to riots. So Chapter 202 of the United States Code is about riots. Let's see, is there a chapter 102? Sorry, it's chapter 102. Oh, wait. Yep, there's a chapter 102. These are riots. It will take me many hours to fully read this all to you. Amends Table of Contents, Part 1, Crimes, Title of the United States Code. So they changed something in the listing of the United States Code. So I think this changes the name of it. It changes it to crimes, even though it's dealing with civil right, even though we're talking about civil rights. Very interesting. So Title 2, and I'm gonna do another video for Title 2 later, but I just wanted to be said. Title 2 of the 1968 Act, Civil Rights, is for Indians. For the purpose of this title, the term Indian tribe means any tribe, band, or other group of Indians subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and recognized as possessing powers of self-government. So, first step to be an Indian tribe, it means any tribe. Any tribe or band or group of Indians. So you gotta be a group. A a group. A group of Indians. And they are subject to, they are under the control of the United States. So these are a group of Indians under the control of the United States. And they are recognized as being, as having a level of, I want you to see my face when I say this. I just want you to see my face when I say this. I want to look you in the eye too. So, I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me, right, that should be enough. So, I want you to see as I say this. In this law, Indian tribe, it means any group of Indians that are under the control of the United States. And this is very important, and they are seen as having the ability to control their own affairs. So that means that they really have the power to control their own affairs, but the United States is exerting control over them. Now, I don't care who you are or who you think you are, but for right now, the majority of you are slaves. It doesn't matter what your biological what species you are, and the color of your skin really doesn't matter. That is stupidity. That is nonsense. That is an excuse that people give to that evil people give to dumb people. Say, "Oh, we took your rights away because your skin is 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 less pink than ours or more pink than ours." That's stupid. They thought you were stupid to tell you that. You're just a slave. Now, this is referring to Indians that are under the control of the American government or that are enslaved by of the American government. Because if you're an Indian, that means you have a tribe. A tribe is analogous to having your own country or your own nation. It's saying that you have this group of people who are there who are or were their own nation, but they are now under the control of the United States government, and they still have the ability to control their own affairs, except that the United States government is constantly stepping in to stop them from controlling their own affairs for the most part. All right. Oh, yep, yep. Um, two. Oh, it even defines what powers of self-government. Powers of self-government means and includes all governmental powers possessed by an Indian tribe. Executive. I don't know what the word executive means. Legislative. I think I know what the word means. It means laws, passing laws, or writing laws. Judicial means you have your own judges. And all offices, which means you have different offices to handle different things like commerce, security, um, communications offices, and all bodies, which are probably different kinds of offices, but I don't know what bodies means in this place. And then tribunals, which I which I don't know what they really mean, but I think a tribunal, right? I think a tribunal is a special court. So they're telling you what the powers of self-government are, or at least a limited form of self-government, because I think that other people have a more robust, a more fully fleshed out form of what self-government is and what those powers possessed by self-government have. But I think these are the basic powers of self-government that an Indian tribe has. They have an executive, they have legislative powers, they have judicial powers, they have offices, bodies, tribunals, and by and through which they are executed, including courts of Indian offenses. I don't know what that means really, but I think it means that if an Indian commits a crime, his fellow Indians will try him in their own court. Oh, wait. I, I didn't even read this part yet, but it seems and 3. Indian court means any tribal court of Indian offense. Now, And let me see, am I going to be blocking this? Yes, I will. My fist will block it. So I'm going to shorten that up to about, I don't want to move it. I want it to be in there. So that lists the Indian rights. You know, this is a longer section than most, but you just see how many rights. And habeas corpus deals with showing proof that you committed a crime. It's proof you committed a crime. All right. How long is this section? I know it's. Oh, no, no, don't do that. I know that this section goes on. This is title. Yeah, this is title 4. That's title 3. So this is where title 3 begins. So this is about 5 pages. Title 2 is about 5 pages. And it defines not who the Indian tribes are, but what the Indian tribes are. It doesn't list them by name, but it defines who they are. It defines the state that they're currently in. That means that they can still govern, that they can still govern themselves to a degree, but they are under the control of the U.S. government, whether they want to be or not. Most people think slavery is by choice. It means that you don't have the choice to stop it. It means that if someone's tying you up and beating you, it means you don't have a choice to untie those ropes, because then you would call it something else entirely. All right, so power, it lists the powers that the government knows an Indian government has. Then it goes on to list the rights that they know an Indian government or that an Indian tribe should have. So I'm gonna go into this one later. It's probably gonna be a super, super long video. But remember, this is the bill that was passed as a result of Martin Luther King being shot and killed. When Martin Luther King was shot and killed, Negroes and colored people got out in the street and they rioted. They tore the place up. Then Ben Johnson was like, what are we gonna do? We can kill all the Negroes, but then it'll hurt our country. It'll hurt our reputation. We'll lose millions of dollars. We'll never come back from it. We could kill them all, but we'll never come back from it. So what did Ben Johnson do? He signed the Civil Rights Act of 1968, and the Negroes were happy because it's all about the Indians, because the Negroes are Indians. So and it defines an Indian tribe. I know many Indian tribes will define themselves differently, but this defines an Indian tribe. If you're a black person and you're told about the Civil Rights Act of 1968 and how it applies to you, that means that you are an Indian, but they're just not telling you because you don't sit down and read these laws. We need to sit down. We need to stop pretending we know. There's no more faking it till you're making it. Everyone knows you're stupid. Everyone knows you don't know. And when they look at you, it's like, he pretending like he knows, but he doesn't know. We all see it happening. We all see it happening every day when people pretend to know stuff and they don't. We just look at them like idiots, and we go on. We do the correct thing, and they go on and they do the wrong thing, and then they ask, "Why is it so hard to get the correct answer?" So I want you to remember the last thing I say is that the Civil Rights Act passed because Martin Luther King was murdered, assassinated, and the Negroes revolted, and Lyndon B. Johnson signed this law that they wanted for so long, and everything in it has to do with Indians. Everything. And if you think I'm lying, just read it. If you still think I'm lying, I'm gonna make a video of each and every section. I already made a section for section 10, but everything in this at that time that it was made only deals with Indians. And if I had to be really, really snooty with it, I would say that because it was expanded in 1974, it only deals with Indian women. And because it was expanded in 1988, it really only deals with Indians who have disabilities and Indians with children or Indian families with children. The law is about being exact and correct, and it doesn't really allow spaces for vagueness. That's why many laws are written vaguely, so you can exactly include a large number of things. So I'm gonna end this video here. I will upload it immediately. If you have a comment about something wrong in this video, do not type the words "you said something wrong." Type out exactly what was wrong. I will try to make an amendment or an addendum to the video. Don't tell me, oh, you're wrong, or you're wrong about this. Do not be vague. You see why you can now see the problem of vague laws. Do not leave vague comments. I I hate to watch videos that are vague. I hate to watch videos that have been misnamed. I hate to go and read through things that are vague. This law was very vague, but also very specific. This law deals with Indians. When we look at people during the Civil Rights Act, let me pull that back up. 1968 Civil Rights. 1988 riots. I don't want the Washington D.C. riots. I want the yes, I want to watch. I don't want the Paris riots. I want the Washington D.C. riots. Um, white guy, white military, Negroes, military, Negroes, Negro homes burned, military, military, more Negroes. I do not see any people who look like Mongolians or Caucasians. I see a whole lot of people that we call Europeans who are really colonizers. Look, another Negro-looking woman. I know it's offensive to some people, but that's what she would have been called. She would have been called a colored Negro. But really, she's an Indian. And due to Walter Ashley Plecker, due to Walter Ashley Plecker and others preventing people from calling themselves what they wish to be called, she was called a Negro. More army, more colonizers, a Negro. A Negro who's really a Indian. That's an Indian. All these people, I do not see any Europeans up in there. I do not see any Hindus from Calcutta. I do not see any Pakistanis. I do not see any Nigerians. I do not see any people from China, Southeast Asia. Uh, I'm telling you, I don't see anyone from Papua New Guinea, although a lot of us look like them. I see people look like they're from Vanuatu all the time. I do not see any people from Africa in here. I do see a lot of Negroes. Look, these is what? These is hoses and a whole lot of police. What was this? Oh, bastard riots. Bastard riots. I think it means bastard riots. Oh, whatever. Um, resident anger fuel. This is a news journal. These are pictures taken from reputable websites and some from amateur websites. But these pictures were taken by journalists and cataloged into archives. Then they're used on amateur websites and on credible websites. So don't take the picture and just, oh, that's just a regular black and white picture. It's a credible picture. Oh, this is the scale of it. You can do business in this. You can go to your politician, have a conversation with your with the community burnt down. It doesn't even matter if it was a community 10 miles away. It would mess up business. United alone. United alone. Seven. They're telling you. They're telling you that it was so badly messed up you couldn't even tell where the streets used to be. They have to put labels there to show you where 7th Street was, and where Zero Street Northwest was. More Negro people. more Negro people. I'm thinking we're cycling back to the same pictures, but you still getting it. Police, Negroes. Wait. I think there's oh, oh, one Caucasian guy there, but I don't think he's taking anything. So he's telling them like, yo, hold up, don't hurt these people. I know you probably can't see it. Oh, well, moving on. I could go through this all day. I'm not seeing. No, there was a riot in Paris, in France, at the same time, but that riot in Paris did not affect the laws in the United States for the same time period. So let's go back over here. If I have to repeat it 10 times. This, the 1968 Civil Rights Act, is all about Indians. All of these people that we call black, colored, Negro, African American, they're actually Indians, and they give up anything that they've held as Indians when they call themselves something else. Or really, that is the principle that is assumed. So they assume that, wait, you call yourself black? Well, you're not an Indian, because an Indian wouldn't call themselves black, but yourself call themselves black and an Indian, but you just call yourself black. So they assume you're not an Indian, but you are Indians. You are urban Indians. And that is where the confusion lies, because there are many articles on urban Indians, but people think it is the Mongolian Indians, but it's you Negroes who are really Indians who were stripped of your title. You had your title stolen. You don't understand the power of a title. You don't understand the power of what a title is. Even when your regular everyday names, that is a title. It is stolen by the Enligas and you are made a slave. But now everyone has their title stolen by the Enligas, and they're now all slaves. And now they have to go back to the original legal jurisdiction that they had before they were colonized. So I'm going to say this one last time for good measure. The Civil Rights Act of 1968 that was published to quell the riots because they couldn't use the military to stop the riots. The riots would never stop. So they used the law to stop the riots to make the Indians happy. And the Indians rioted because you killed their peaceful leader, Martin Luther King, who realized that, hey, we're Indians and you owe us our money. You should give us back our monies, and not just our money, but our lands, our historical records, and all the property you took from us. Not just the money, but our property. You took the property from us Indians. And no, you don't need to know my genealogy. That is private. I'm doing my genealogy like a lot of other people, and that stuff is private.